Hi, this is Robert Clinkybeard and David Anderson with the Commercial Landscapers Podcast. We're going to take 20 minutes of your life to deliver some amazing content from accomplished leaders and business owners and provide you some value that you can take back to your business, your family, and your personal life and transform your life. We hope you really enjoy this. Cheers, everyone. Good morning, Andrew Kay. Thank you for joining me on the Commercial Landscapers Podcast. Really glad you could be here today.
Thank you, Robert. My pleasure.
So, Andrew, we've known each other for probably at least 8, 9, 10 years.
That sounds right.
So it's always a pleasure every time I see you or talk to you. Just I felt as though we bonded really well over the years. But just so that our audience, they obviously don't know you. Tell me a little bit about your background and how you're sitting in that hot seat today.
Good. All right. I'll kind of walk you just sort of through my really the professional part of my career and get you right up to where I'm at today, Robert. I've been working in the green industry now for about 17 years at 2 different companies. Prior to that, when I got out of school, I worked in CPA firms, my business degree, and quickly found that there was a certain group of clients that had the greatest needs in that environment, and also came with the greatest challenge, but that was primarily commercial contractors. And so I kind of migrated from public accounting into controllership, CFO, in industry, in commercial construction. And then luckily, for my sake, found a commercial landscape contractor in Albuquerque, New Mexico that needed a CFO. And I seemed to fit their needs and they fit mine. And I joined Heads Up in 2004 and again, worked with them for about 15 years through their sale to a private equity backed national or super regional company. And then after about a year of transition, assisting them in the transition and making sure that everything was going to be smooth there, I decided to join another landscape company in Denver. I think this Denver market is really exciting and lots of opportunities. So I've been here for the last 2 years at Emerald Isle Landscaping in Denver.
Cool. Again, both great companies, Emerald Isle and Heads Up. One of the things you touched on there was, transitioning into that contractor side of things, especially on the green industry, and you've been through, at least probably 2 downturns. Here we are sitting in October 2020. We've gone through a pretty challenging, 6-7 months. What attracts you about, the green industry? Because a lot of people regard, it's just a dirty business, not much money to be made, but there's obviously something appealing about that industry.
It's a combination of circumstances, I guess, Robert. First of all, just from a practical business perspective, that dirty business, you could kind of shrug it off or make fun or laugh about it, but there's a lot of money to be made there. These jobs have to be done. They have to be done regularly and consistently. And that's a good opportunity. That means regular cash flow and a business need that really doesn't go away. It can turn down, the extra work can sort of dry up, but the principal work of maintaining a commercial landscape really doesn't go away. So I'm attracted to that aspect of it from a business perspective. It makes sense to me. You can look at it sort of as taking the trash out. It's got to be taken out. You can't just let it pile up in the kitchen. It's got to be dealt with. And it reminds me a lot of a friend of mine that worked for a large beverage company, and he would jokingly call himself the trash man because he would volunteer for the worst assignments that nobody wanted to do, fixing a business unit in a community or a location that wasn't attractive to his partners. And he made quite a career and really retired at a young age with enough stock to sustain him for the rest of his life in a national beverage company. And so I've applied that principle in my life too. I've always volunteered for the toughest tasks or to clean up the messes, and it gets you into things and working with people that you may not have otherwise encountered, and just creates a lot of opportunity. So the dirty business is good business.
No, that's good. Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And obviously it's caused enough, between the recurring business and doing work that, other people don't necessarily are attracted to, it has attracted a lot of acquisitions, private equity coming into it, and obviously there's a reason for that. Talk as much as you can about, in terms of either your acquisition or just building your company up to make it more attractive to potential buyers.
I mean, in great part, the things that any of us should be doing to be attractive to an acquirer are the things that we should be doing to have a good business anyway. And, information systems, knowing your costs, recurring revenue, very important. So the, principal maintenance contract, and then the services that go along with that, the enhancements, irrigation repair, and here in Denver, snow removal. Those are important, for that acquiring party's interest. And I think they're good for the individual too. Back at Heads Up, I was involved with a lot of construction there. We eventually grew the maintenance business past the construction and became more and more selective about the contracting clients and types of jobs that we would do. But there's a freedom and a liberation in kind of rounding the bend there, where you have enough of the recurring revenue that you can say no to a construction job and say, I don't want that job. I'll just pass. Thanks for the opportunity.
Right.
And I think along with that, budgeting, managing your debt, cash flow management, huge, so you have to be a little bit business savvy, I think, to really make a go of this as well. But some of the most business savvy people that I've worked with and learned from don't have college degrees. They learn this on the job and from their professional associates and professional associations and peer groups, which I've been involved with for over 16 years now. So there's a lot of sources and places to learn. You have to keep that mind snapping and agile and be open to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'll go back to the peer groups and mentors in a minute, but one of the things you talked about is, you obviously made that shift towards maintenance and that recurring revenue, but even again during these times, what's the importance of that breakdown of markets even within maintenance? You've obviously got HOAs, you've got industrial. I mean, how important is that type of split as well within that segment?
I think what's important, Robert, because I've seen companies that are successful serving each and or all segments of commercial, which might include multifamily, institutional, pure straight commercial, residential, even every type. But you ought to know your split, know what percentage of your business is in each segment, if you will. I think you ought to be looking at your margins in those segments and try to see what that teaches you. Do you perform better in one segment than another? Does one segment offer you a better opportunity than another? Where's that combination to find that most advantageous position? So knowing your numbers, through the segments, through your margins, critical into kind of developing that balance, if you will, of business. And I think there are cycles to all those clients, right? Multifamily has always been looked at as a somewhat of a less desirable client by a lot of commercial landscape contractors. But there has been a time, I think, for the last 3 or 4 years that's been a rich, productive vein. Now, a lot of that is from the chaos of all the private equity that's flowing into multifamily too. So people are buying apartments and they want to immediately upgrade them, raise the rents, improve the tenancy or the return, and then sell them. So, that has been a good client to have. I mean, for a while, Emerald Isle, which has slightly imbalanced in favor of multifamily, our enhancements were well over $1 for $1 of maintenance revenue in that segment because so much money was being spent as these changed hands. The downside of it is higher attrition with that client than a lot of other segments. Right. So I've seen, and know contractors that feel very comfortable staying in one zone, one type of client, and they have high retention and they're happy to stay right there and do that. Right. Others, take a little bit of all, and others, imbalance to other client segments. So there's opportunity in every aspect of it, as long as you know your numbers and you know your client.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, that's good feedback, and I used to find that as well. It's just sometimes in certain years there were better clients in terms of maybe there was a boom market there and other ones that were struggling, and then the following year it might flip over. So it's nice to have that spread there. Talk to me about the importance of having either mentors, coaches, peer groups around you, because we have our national association, the NALP, but they certainly only cover one aspect of the educational part. But talk about the other importance of having other people around you.
Sure. I mean, I think any opportunity to be mentored that's positive and productive is a good thing. I didn't wake up one day knowing anything about the green industry. I knew a little bit about, business and accounting and finance and all those things. But really, it was through membership in the Next Level peer group that I got at least a master's degree in, the landscape business from being around all these people that had been doing it for a long time and really knew what they were doing. And they were, kind enough and generous enough to share that with me. I think that's another thing I meant to touch on earlier about the green industry, landscaping as a segment, if you will, in commercial construction. A little bit different type of person from some of the other segments in commercial construction. Just for whatever reason, we probably talked about it a little bit, the outdoor connection. The landscape seems to have more of an emotional connection with people than building elements like concrete sidewalks or a lighting package, although lighting can really beautify a building. It just doesn't connect as much emotionally with us as a nice garden or a walking space in a commercial landscape or a park or something like that. But the mentorship, back to that, and peer group, again, really a great learning opportunity for me. And I have been to the national events, the NALP, GIE, as they used to call it, and all of those things, even student career days where we're going there to recruit. I end up talking to somebody and I'm learning in that environment. So, I think it's important too that we all give a little bit in that regard, and almost everybody I know has. I mean, you're trying to improve performance within your own organization, maybe with the interns that you meet and have in your company. You may only have them for a summer, but you counsel them and then maybe offer them career advice and help them make connections in their career. I think that's all very important. It's helped me a lot, so you got to pass it along.
No, I think you're right. I mean, I think when you compare the green industry to other trades within construction, I feel it's a lot more adversarial within the construction industry, whereas in the green industry, most people I've found have been fairly giving. Especially in non-competing markets. And, one of the parts of that, as you said, is same as my experience, where that, you're almost holding each other accountable. You can't necessarily BS them because they're all in the same industry. You're all working to the same benchmark numbers or whatever. So I'll have the same experience. So tell me about maybe one of your light bulb moments, or just that flash of brilliance that you've had, whether it be in a peer group environment or some other environment where just something has struck you that you feel as though would be, I don't know, just change your thoughts around the industry or maybe the company you're with. You have any thoughts that come to mind and just change your perception?
Sure. I mean, and it's not a moment, but it's sort of something that evolved within me or within my perspective on things, but it didn't really reveal itself clearly until I was in the green industry. When I left public accounting and came up through several different commercial construction companies, I felt pretty alone in those companies. I was sort of the finance guy in the corner, clean up the information systems, help us get that evolved and into the late 20th century or early 21st century, but not necessarily so connected with the team. And at the last company I worked for before I went to Heads Up, it was an electrical contractor out of Southern California, but worked all over Nevada and Arizona and Southern California. I really started to feel a desire to impact operations more. And I began to really understand that as long as I stayed in that accounting corner, there was going to be limitations on what I could contribute to an organization. So I started to push myself into more interaction, more responsibility, more accountability to the operations people at that time. And then by the time I got to Heads Up, the next job I had, I was ready and at the point where I told Gary when I started, I'm going to fix your information systems and we're going to get ready for the 21st century and do all those things. But my goal is to have a profound impact on operations, and it happened by opportunity, necessity, and all the above that I had that opportunity. And when I migrated into operations at Heads Up, I told Gary, we're going to close the door behind me. I'm going to hire a CFO. I'm not going to put a weak person in there or degrade the position back to controller or something because I understand all that. I'm hiring somebody as good or better than me behind me, and I move over to operations. And if I make it, I make it. If I don't, you have to get rid of me.
Cut the cord. Well, that's admirable because, obviously, people that tend to have that skill set will tend to just stick in that, just go deep there. And I would imagine, I don't know, fully, but, with finance, you could easily just have shut that door and just focus completely on it. But you obviously jumped in somewhat to that fire because operations within a construction green company can be pretty challenging. What were some of the things that you did to really immerse yourself so you did fully understand it, so you're fully prepared?
I'll tell you, Robert, I had to tap into the people. I mean, I could basically read plans, but not, it'd be like sitting at a piano and tapping out notes, where somebody who's been doing it for a while can look right at that sheet of music and start playing the music, and it sounds good. Well, I had all those people around me that understood the music and could play, and I could sort of read the notes and tap it out, but they were better at it than I was. So I had to rely on them, and I had to offer them something that would help them create value. And so, I got worked with the people we had and brought in a few more people that wanted to work that way. And it's more about connecting with people to kind of cross that bridge and get going. And then also because Heads Up had a very good reputation in the market, it made it a little easier to go forward. People welcomed you. They weren't looking at you skeptically.
Right.
In that same or rotating around that same kind of concept, people in Albuquerque that were in the green industry wanted to work at Heads Up. It was looked at as a desirable employer. So we were very fortunate to have people aimed at us, coming to us that we could kind of sift through. Now, there were times we didn't have enough, like everyone else, but for the most part, people were always showing up at our door wanting to go to work, and we were out trying to figure out who was a good fit for us and recruit people locally and nationally to join the organization.
That's good.
So everything, all the success, everything comes back to people, you know, and it wasn't me, it was the team. It was a team of people we put together.
So talk about that for a minute, and we'll probably finish up with this question. It's a two-part question. How did you, first of all, I mean, you obviously had that luxury of being that destination company in Albuquerque, so people were coming to you. But how do you try, what's your secret sauce to finding people? Because that seems to be the biggest challenge I hear from most companies out there, is just trying to find the right people. And then the second part to that is, once you have the people in place, how do you keep them engaged or develop those employees so they stay with you for hopefully many years?
Yeah, I mean, finding the right people, number one, is about getting out to connect with them, to create opportunities to connect with them. It's a little bit about knowing what you're looking for, and you have to think in terms of the whole team dynamics. I had a gentleman that I interviewed one time that told me, if I come to work for you, I want you to give me your worst crew and your worst job, and I'll show you what I can do. And I mean, no one else I had interviewed said anything like that to me. You know, I always hear a lot of, I want this, I want that. This guy said, I want the toughest job, your worst crew, and I'll show you how I can make things happen.
Did you do it?
Yeah, I did. And we had a very fruitful, 6-7 year working relationship. But it's never perfect, and you have to be able to encourage people to sacrifice a little bit for the team, right? You don't have to have it all for you. Help other people, and you have to set that example, I guess, honestly, if you want people to follow, and then retaining a team like that. Number one, I kind of accept, Robert, that people, their needs and desires change over time, and so a lot of people I mentored, some of them left, heads up, sadly, but it happens. But, I wish them the best. And I would even tell them, if you decide you're going to go, I'll help you. I'll help you find a job. And you hope that goodwill and that positive treatment, encouragement comes back around. And I had people leave Heads Up and come back and have a second successful career with us, because I hope partially, at least, because I treated them, genuinely and in a positive manner, not negative. You can't be offended when people decide they're going to leave your organization. In a way, there's a measure of success in that. If they believe they're moving up into a position that suits them better or challenges them to grow, continue to grow, I see that as positive. So,
and how have you? Last question: how have you changed what you learned at Heads Up coming into Emerald Isle, especially in relation to retaining employees? Because sometimes you think, maybe I should have done this, maybe I should have done that. Anything you can think of that you've just changed your viewpoint?
No, but it's been humbling and a good learning opportunity for me to join a new organization and realize, just because I showed up yesterday doesn't mean things are vastly different today. So I had to take my time, work through everybody here, get to know people the way I described it to them, because, I show up at a meeting and I'm introduced as meet the new boss, who is this guy? And what I said to everybody, I think these were almost my exact words, is I'm going to respect your investment. Some of you have been here 5, 10, 15 years. You've made an investment. You've invested your life into this. I'll respect that. I want to learn about you. I want to learn how you do what you do, and how we can leverage all that for the betterment of Emerald Isle. And, I tried to encourage them to understand that whatever we did to make Emerald Isle better would create more opportunity for them if you can be patient enough to see that through. So, I had to, after 15 years at Heads Up, we had a pretty well-oiled machine, really good team that was producing people to fill positions as we grew very efficiently, very effectively. And so you step into a new company like this, it's not.
Yeah, you've got some building to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So
they're almost working with their replacements, which is great. Great. Yeah. So if people want to contact you just to learn a little bit more about you or your company, what's the best way for them to do that? Through LinkedIn or
LinkedIn is perfect. Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, just Andrew Key, Key. I still, kind of relish the opportunity to mentor people in the industry or just talk with people about, share my experience, my knowledge, if it can be of any help. And I'm sure sometimes it has been, others probably not as much.
Well, Andrew, really appreciate your time today. Sure all the listeners from the Commercial Landscapers podcast will really enjoy your takeaways today. So thank you again for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. It's an honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Hopefully that was pure dead brilliant for you today and you got some great takeaways for your business or your personal life. This is Robert Clinkebeard along with David Anderson, and we'd love to get you and your friends to join us in our future journey. So please subscribe through our website, commerciallandscapers.com, or through the various podcast channels out there. But anyway, hopefully you have an awesome day. Cheers.